Hello and welcome along to the Season 16 review from this Dorking Wanderers FM20 series with me, Daniel. We're reflecting on a 5th place finish today, as well as our first ever major trophy. It took 3 final defeats, but it was 4th time lucky. And we finished the season knowing we'll have Europa League football for the first time, as well as our first European trophy. However, 3 domestic cup final defeats still haunt us, and we're going to have to bridge that gap between the top 4 and ourselves. Because I think it's fair to say for Manchester United, Manchester City, Chelsea and Liverpool, there is a gap. And we're going to have to try and bridge that. I'm not quite sure how. We're going to focus again like last summer, not on lots of signings, but 1 or 2 big ones that can really improve the squad. So hopefully we can do that. We can continue to improve. And we've got 1 signing already planned, which will make a big difference to this club. So as always for the end of season review, we will go through our summer transfer plans. We will have a look at the domestic and the European competitions for the season, see if there's any shocks in the English footballing pyramid. And of course, we will also do our player of the season vote. So if you are looking forward to this one, please do chuck a thumbs up on the video. Thank you so much for your support with another season. And hopefully it was all worth it in the end. That big trophy victory against Hibernian and Ewan Davey against his former club. Part of a record-breaking season for him, which we'll come to in a second. If you want to make sure you stay up to date with all of the content on the channel, please do subscribe down below. We've got daily FM20 content, including 2 episodes every weekend from our new series with Macclesfield Town. And the head coach is coming towards a thrilling conclusion with another new series planned after that. The weekly live streams will be back tomorrow as always. The stadium review series continued yesterday. So thank you everyone as always. I really do appreciate your support. So let's go and start, as we do, with the end of season news items. So the first one is record-breaking moments for Ewan Davey. 18 goals in the Europa League 2. So he didn't actually score many in the league, only 6, but 18 in 16 starts in the Europa League 2. An incredible achievement and a wonderful outing for him in his first season. He's also naturally a midfielder as well, so we might work him back as we go on and perhaps get another big striker. I don't know how we're going to go with that yet. We've had players inducted into our best overall 11. No surprise that Gabriel Afonso is the keeper, overtaking the old hero Michael Stropper. Then Cohen Mertens, Zach Council and Kieran Pollock all making their way onto the bench. But the first team still got a few of the old guard left. No one's dislodging Aaron Presley up front. Let's skip ahead to the end of season awards so you can see that Morgan Morale, the signing of the season, the £88 million man, and he has delivered. French international, 5-star ability, and 135 grand a week. All looks a bargain now after that final, doesn't it? A man of the match display in our first ever major trophy victory. What a player he is. If we can get 3 or 4 more like him, maybe we can compete at the top. We've got our end of season review. We finished 5th, which is better than was expected. We got to the final of both domestic cups, but unfortunately lost to big names, and then managed to win the Europa League 2, which takes us into the full Europa League next season, as well as our 5th place finish in the league. We did have a heavy defeat, we had a sellout every year, and there is more better news to come on that. But we'll get to all that in a moment. Let's get to the club vision. Next season, semi-final of the Europa League, qualify for Europe from the Premier League. It says facilities improvements completed, so perhaps that will change as well. We've only had an item on the stadium so far, but we look forward to the others. So let's accept that vision and hopefully we can continue to progress towards it. We've got a really good hierarchy now. Aaron White is a little bit of an outlier in the squad, but he's one of the few that's homegrown at the club. So for Europe, he will have to stay. We're going to tell the lads what we want to achieve next season. There isn't anything about the Europa League 2, so we're going to have to say Europa League. And it looks like they've reacted well to that. We did have a few injury problems this year, Gleedle being the main one, Aaron White, Ryan Lima, Sam Williams towards the end of the year. A lot of 4 or 5 week injuries, but no massive ones, with the exception of Mario before he joined us. So the lads will be back on the 2nd of July. We've got an offer for Sam Williams, which is not getting accepted. And the pre-season camp we'll do in the US. It's the closest one, and we need to build our brand in a traditional way. America, then the Far East. And we move on to the squad for our summer transfer plans. Now, it doesn't look too grand or too spectacular this summer, and it's probably not going to be in truth. I just want to see if we had anyone out on loan still. I don't think we do from the first team. So from this squad, these are the 4 who I think will definitely go. So Frew and Makinson's loan ends. They're not going to be staying with us. Makinson isn't able to stay, and Tommy Frew isn't good enough really. So what we will do is keep one loan space free so we can just have a look around, and if there's someone we need to plug a gap in the squad, particularly for the Europa League and the backup team, we'll do that next season. Ben Barrett, the third choice keeper, will be off. We'll be looking for a new backup to Afonso, with Petit then dropping to third choice. And Murillo was only ever a short-term signing. Made one Premier League appearance. We signed him for about 1.5, was it? 1.7 million, and he's worth 13 now. So if we can get even 8 to 10 million for him this summer, it's brilliant business. I plan to bring in a centre-half this year who will be first choice. I want Semedo and that new signing together. And in the backups, Roger Solly, I don't want to interrupt his path. He will play Europa League football. And alongside him, we'll then have Cohen Mertens as the backup, who is the joint weakest in our first team at the minute. But what a player he would be to have in your Europa League team. Now, let's not be mistaken, just because I've put 4 names here doesn't mean I only expect 4 to leave. There is an opportunity, if we can get a world-class player in our budget in 2 or 3 different positions, that we could move someone on. So I plan to switch Correa next season with Pollock, but what that does mean is if we can get a world-class right back, then I'll let Pollock go and we'll just have Correa and the new player. The same on the right wing. If we can get a top-quality player, Ryan Lima goes and we keep Council as the backup to the new one. So there are some positions where that's the case. I guess Jonton in central midfield, if we get a world-class striker and Davey can drop back. There are so many where that's the case. Aaron White will probably be an outlier to the squad now, so he will become one of those third choice players like Gleadle. He is homegrown at the club, but he's not good enough really to be our backup. So maybe we get a first choice left winger. Stokic is the backup and Aaron White is a squad player for Europe. They're the sorts of things we're looking at, and they're the luxuries we can afford to consider now. So we are in a real good position on that front, and there are plenty of potential moves to be done. You can see also how many of the big players are wanted, how many of the squad players are wanted, and if we got offers that are too good to refuse, for the likes of Peter McLaughlin, Jerome Jonton, even Carl Boyce, looking at some of the big clubs after them, if we're talking 50, 60 million, then backup players can go. So while there might not be a huge amount of business done this summer, I'm not ruling out 1 or 2 massive surprises. So don't be shocked if come the start of next season, there is one of your old favourites leaving the club, or potentially we've signed a world-class player to replace a very good one. But that's my initial plan for the summer. Let me know in the comments what you think of it. I'm just going to head to the selection info so we can review the season, because I wanted to talk about some of the disappointments really. Jeff Coppens has had a great goal scoring season. Ryan Lima's not done badly on that front, but they just haven't had the average rating this year. They haven't had the impact in games. Now I know we've got players like Morgan Morel who are more influential in the middle. They keep the ball better. We're probably playing more through the middle than we were previously. The same with Ari Ensink joining in January. The same with Semedo at the back being a ball playing defender. We haven't got that reliance on width now. However, when Zach Council's coming in, he's doing better. When Aaron White's coming in, he's doing better. When Stokic came in January, he did a bit better. McLaughlin's better than the other number 10s before in Carl Boyce, although he did recover late in the season. So there are a few positions we've got to think about that. The Keith Balters one I'm not as worried about. Box-to-box midfielders have really struggled in this year's game, as have Mazzalas. I guess Stefan Moles did okay, but he used to take penalties. Otherwise, everyone struggled. The goalkeeper Afonso, for a keeper in this game, that's a very good rating. So there are positives, but we've got to be mindful of some who need to move on. And I think the 3 average ratings at the bottom sort of prove that. They're the 3 that are rated the lowest. Makinson only scored a penalty in 7 sub-appearances. Murillo played 1 game, wasn't great, and Barrett looked worse than the other keepers when he played. So there is a difference in quality there, and we're just trying to move on some of the worst players in the squad and increase the first team and drop everyone else down. And hopefully as we continue to do that, we'll become a bigger and better side and able to compete for the top 4. So goals this season, of course, Davey and Coppens well out on top. Zach Council in the Europa League too. I know they were easier games, but the Europa Conference suited those 2 boys. Lots of others on 5, 4, 3 and 2. Nearly everyone got a goal this season, so that's a positive. In terms of appearances, Cohen Mertens top of the pile, Semedo, Afonso, Mazzino, Balters, all of the regulars up there. And Morgan Morel had a great first year as well. And our worst run of the season was when he was injured. So there's no real coincidence to that. But in terms of assists, Morel top of the tree with 12, Carl Boyce up there too, and then Council, McLaughlin, Jonton and White with loads between them in the Europa Conference. There are so many positives to come from this season. We just need to get that bigger hurdle, a few more big game players for the cup finals, a few more big consistent players who can play at the top level all season and get us into the Champions League. Because at the moment, with this squad, I think fifth's probably our limit. And I think what we've achieved this year is probably also the limit of our expectations. If we get the odd game in a cup final where we're playing a more lowly side, perhaps we can nick it. But otherwise, I think this is the roof at the moment. So we do need to get 2 or 3 big men in. If we can get a couple more that are like Semedo, Afonso, perhaps even Morgan Morale standard if we're lucky, then we've got a bright future ahead of us. But very quickly, before we move on to the competition review, let's quickly give you my player of the season. And I think if we look at the average rating, it's fairly obvious. We would normally do a little Q&A, a little who do you think it is? But I think there's only really one candidate, and that man is Morgan Morale. There are honourable mentions for you and Davey, for Cole Boyce later in the season perhaps, even for Ari Ensink in January, and Josima Semedo has become a wonderful centre-half. But Morgan Morale's player of the season, there is no doubt in that whatsoever. I did very want to quickly give you a big update in terms of our young players, some of the stars at the club. So if we go to the general info and look at how some are developing, Gabriel Afonso, the keeper, is now 23 and he's now a world-class goalkeeper. Look at the attributes. The one issue is he does still throw in the odd clanger and I'm not quite sure why. However, everything else is good apart from, look at that, a concern about moving to a bigger club. We'll keep a big eye on that one. At centre-half, Josima Semedo again has become world-class. We just need another world-class partner for him. Correa will become first choice next year, a wonder kid that's improving quickly. At centre-half, Roger Solly also improving still. There's so many positives, he's only 18. And the same at left-back for Sam Williams, despite a big injury, improving so quickly. Of course, I'm going through these quite quickly, but as we go through them, you can pause it, catch up, have a look at the stats. We've got Mazzino at left-back, who's become world-class. So I think probably bar one centre-half, and if we can get a world-class right-back or another season of Correa, we will have a full world-class back five. And then it's just about replicating that moving forward. Morale is a big step towards that. Jeff Coppens seems to be getting there. Off the pitch good. He just has patches of form. And he's supposed to be a quite consistent player. He enjoys the big matches. But he hasn't really come to life over a long sustained season. 17 goals this year, but 7 of those from the spot. And I don't know whether to move him on or not. If we get a massive offer, perhaps. But I don't feel like we're going to. I'm a little bit torn on that one. Otherwise, in the middle, we know how good Morale is. Keith Balters is up there as well. A very good, world-class midfielder. So it's just really that attacking midfield 3. Ensink is better than his star rating. I'm not doubting that at all. But the 2 wings are definitely an area to improve. And if we get 2 world-class wingers, perhaps does Jeff Coppens come into form? I feel like I want to give that 1 year to find out. So at the very least, we'll sign a left winger. If we can find a world-class right-hand side player, perhaps we do that too. But it's all about recouping the fee, because we've only got 80 million to spend. And based on Morale last year, that gets you 1 world-class player. But we're going to skip ahead a few weeks, get to the end of all the end-of-season competitions, go and have a look at the English Pyramid and all the European trophies too. Of course, we know the winner of one of them. And we'll see if there's any update on the facilities as well. As I'll give you the stadium update, and then we'll see if there's training ones to come too. We'll be back in a second for that. We are back on the 24th of June, the eve before the fixtures announcement and everything else in the build-up to the new year. And we have got big news, as we have become a continental club. 4-star, up there with clubs that we've managed in the head coach, like Borussia Mönchengladbach, and some of the bigger sides. Wolves, of course, in England, much more reputable on paper. Derby, Reading, Newcastle up there, all regular top-half Premier League teams now. So that's a really good moment for us. But there are other bits of positive news as well. So I'm trying to be very careful with where I place the message inbox to make sure I don't miss anything big. Semedo has signed a new deal, that's a big positive. And we are the biggest risers in Europe in the European club rankings. Our coefficient from next to nothing up 649 places to 71st. And that means we have got a massive boost for next season. We should be seeded for the Europa League, because we've got a lot of coefficient there. 27 all coming last year. If we have a good season in the Europa League and go on a run, then perhaps we can be up there with the best in Europe. All we need to do, really, if we get to the quarters or semis, you're talking another 15 odd points. I mean, a loss in the final for Hibs was 24. Victoria Pelsen were in the semis. They got 15. So let's go on the semi-finals. If we can add 15 next year, that puts us on 42, which is up here in the top 50 with the likes of Valencia, Leicester, Saint Etienne, Fenerbahce. That's where we want to start improving to. If we can keep doing that, I've got a feeling we're going to be a big side before too long. However, there's one other bit of news, and it's the bit I was most scared of, and I'm glad that it seems to be going well. And this is the page that reveals all. We have spent a bit of our transfer budget, as you can see. There's more news to come on that, but I'm saving that for the transfer special next time out. This is all about facilities. We talked about these being stuck. I think it was 3 seasons where they were stuck in planning. Maybe 2, I might be overdoing it slightly. But they have now all been agreed and are in progress. So the stadium has had a very slight reduction, but is being increased to its full capacity, which is over 28,000. That will allow us to compete as well as possible. We've got training facility and youth facility improvements. So we talked about getting stuck with the training facilities. It's the one thing that's held us back a bit. And now from below average, they will go to at least average, adequate, maybe better. So it looks really great at the moment. We've got a 7,251 seating capacity expansion. So if you add that on to the 20,000 plus the 1,071, we are talking well over 28, and it is a massive boost to the club. The youth facility is still great and they will get better. But I feel we're on the cusp of greatness now. We did say we would limit this to 20 years, so at the most we've got 4 seasons left. Probably less than that. We're not going to win the Champions League unless we're very lucky. However, I'd love to win a Premier League. I really need to win an FA Cup and a Carabao Cup. And we'd like to get the Europa League under our belts too. And we've got a few years to do that. So fingers crossed it will all come together. But let's have a quick look at the competitions to finish off our review for the season, as we always do. The Premier League was won by Liverpool for the first time since we got promoted to this division. 5 years without one, and they have finally nicked it by a point from Manchester United. The top 3 are so good. Man City are always in and around there. It's a really good competitive title race every year at the moment. Burnley, Swansea and Norwich all going down to the Championship. So let's head down there and have a look at their division. The playoff final will be shown first. Watford the winners, I'm afraid. As a Luton fan, that's the last thing we want to see. They're back up to the Premier League with West Ham and Bournemouth. 2 sides that start the save in the Premier League, of course. Leyton Orient, Notts County and Bolton coming down. All sides that have climbed up the pyramid in this save. And they're back on their way to League One. So let's go down to there. Luton Town should still be about. We've got Portsmouth who won the playoffs. Wickham and Nottingham Forest going up. Nottingham Forest still the entertainers of this save. Every year there's something going on. Wickham replicate in real life, getting to the Championship. And Luton have been relegated to League Two. That's not what we wanted to see. Boston United down as well. It was just too much for them, although very tight at the bottom. Preston with a narrow escape. Bristol Rovers and Burton the other 2 relegated. Chesterfield up in the playoffs again. Of course, Craig's side in our FM20 network career on the channel, but they've not managed to do the job once they got to the semis. Let's go down to League 2, where Luton will be back next season. Wrexham have been promoted via the playoffs. Walsall, Rotherham and Blackpool automatically. That was very tight up there. 4 points separating the top 4. Tranmere unlucky to miss out. And at the bottom, we've got loads of old non-league clubs. Look at the bottom 5 there. Dulwich Hamlet, FC United, Basingstoke, Havant and Hereford who got relegated. Havant and Waterlooville, a side that featured in our podcast interview at the weekend. Godfrey Poku's just joined there in real life. Played for Luton Town in the past. He was a brilliant laugh, and I'll put a link to that one in the eye above. But Havant and Waterlooville, in this universe, dropping out of the Football League, I'm afraid. Into the National League itself, Swindon back into the Football League again. They were down here with us before. They're just yo-yoing a bit. Oxford United promoted again. They've got stuck down as well. Solihull Moors, Eastleigh, Hendon and Slough relegated. And then down to the National League North. Any return for any of the bigger sides? Was it Grimsby and Macclesfield stuck down here? So Gloucester, St Neots, Russell and Stalybridge relegated. Fleetwood promoted as champions. Our affiliation worked very well. We loaned them a couple of players and it's worked out. I wonder if they're still there to see. So it was Garayan Dorian we loaned them. He's a really good young player actually. And also Tom Leach, he's from us I think. He is. Ricky Grant up front isn't. So I think it might just be those 2 actually. But either way, they've played their first choice central midfield and they've managed to get promoted. So they must have been doing something right between them. But Fleetwood on the way back up. Warrington joined them via the playoffs. Hitchin Town doing well. A nod to FM21. And to be fair, it doesn't look like Macclesfield or Grimsby are back there. So let's go to the south to finish off. Torquay, our FM19 side, they're promoted back to the National League. All the shot champions of the division. and no real shocks at the bottom as Tonbridge, Margate, Poole and Dorchester head back out of the playable leagues. If we move on to the cup competitions, in the FA Cup, we've got Dorking losing to Liverpool, of course, so we're going to know the outcomes of all of these. In the Carabao Cup final, we lost to Manchester United. The Community Shield, Chelsea beat Tottenham, a thrilling game at Wembley there. And Chelsea under-23s winning the Leasing.com trophy. Ruining the streak, it was 4 league clubs for the last 4 years. And now it's been ruined by the youth footballers. And finally, the FA Trophy, Darlington beating Telford. Darlington in the National League North. Telford in the National League, and it was the second tier side that got over the line there. That's a good result to see. If we go over to the European competitions to finish, we'll be with the Champions League first. So Manchester United are the holders. That suggests that they won their All-English final. So let's go back to last season. Let's go to the final. The preliminaries have already started. It was 0-0 against Liverpool in the final, and United won it on penalties. So the Premier League and Champions League are shared out by the old rivals. The Europa League, let's go back and have a look at that one as well. Last season's final, and who will be on top? Arsenal, an English winner again. They beat Roma, the Italians, a 2-0 victory in the final. And the Europa League 2, we know all about. The final was Dorking Wanderers v Hibernian, and we came out on top 2-1 for our first major trophy 16 years in. What a moment for the club, and now we try to do it all again in the next competition up next season. So if you are looking forward to that and you're excited for the Season 17 transfer special on Wednesday, please do chuck a thumbs up on the video. It's been a brilliant season despite the cup final defeats, so fingers crossed we can continue that momentum next year. Let me know in the comments what you think of my summer plans, if I've missed any shock throughout the English football pyramid, and what you think our aspirations should be for next season. If you haven't already, subscribe down below and turn that notification bell on. You'll get alerts as daily FM20 content releases on the channel, as well as when we go live for our streams every week. We will be back at 10 AM tomorrow for that one. So if you are available, please do come and hang out. It normally is a great laugh, and we just talk all sorts of things. Football, food, sports, Football Manager occasionally, and much, much more as well. And as I mentioned a bit earlier, you can catch up with some of the best bits from the podcast in the eye above. We're growing really quickly at the moment, and we're delighted with how things are going. So thank you as always for your incredible support for another season. I really do appreciate it. And hopefully I'll see you on Wednesday for the big transfer special with Dorking, as we try to prepare for Europa League football and an assault and a charge on the top 4.